So long as I am your king, treason shall never go unpunished. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
Game of Thrones has undoubtedly left a lasting mark on the world of television. For 8 seasons, audiences were drawn into the incredible and immersive world of Westeros, a place of dragons, magic, betrayals, and shocking character deaths that kept fans on the edge of their seats. The show may have ended in a way that disappointed many, but the series still delivered some of the most iconic moments in television history. From heartbreaking betrayals to epic battles, each of these scenes contributed to the show's legacy, making it a cultural phenomenon that will be remembered for years to come. 10. The aftermath of Sansa's wedding.
Take off your clothes.
Sansa Stark's journey throughout Game of Thrones was one of the most tragic and heart-wrenching. She endured betrayal, manipulation, and abuse from some of the most vile characters in Westeros, including Joffrey Baratheon and Ramsay Bolton. One of the darkest and most controversial moments of the series was the aftermath of Sansa and Ramsay's wedding.
Lady Sansa, will you take this man?
The trauma and abuse Sansa suffers at Ramsay's hands was an excruciating turning point in her storyline. Though the scene itself focuses on Theon Greyjoy's horrified reaction as he's forced to witness Ramsay's cruelty, the horror is palpable, and fans were left disturbed. The intensity and controversy of this scene sparked widespread debate about how far the show should go in depicting the harsh realities of its world. For Sansa, however, this horrific experience ultimately shaped her into the resilient and powerful figure she became by the series' end. 9th, Oberyn Martell's duel with the Mountain.
You raped her! You murdered her! You killed her children!
Oberyn Martell quickly became a fan favorite after being introduced in Season 4 with his charisma, intellect, and desire for justice. His rivalry with the Mountain, Sir Gregor Clegane, reached its climax when Oberyn agreed to a trial by combat to settle Tyrion Lannister's fate. Oberyn's skill and agility allow him to gain the upper hand, and it seems like he might finally avenge the death of his sister, Elia Martell, who was brutally murdered by the Mountain years prior. But Oberyn's need for a confession from the Mountain becomes his undoing. In a horrific twist, the Mountain trips Oberyn and crushes his skull, confessing to his crimes as he kills him.
Elia Martell! I killed her children!
This gruesome scene left fans speechless and remains one of the show's most shocking and unforgettable moments. It's a brutal reminder of the cost of revenge and the dangers of underestimating one's opponent. 8. Daenerys becomes the Mother of Dragons. Daenerys Targaryen's transformation into the Mother of Dragons is one of the most iconic moments in Game of Thrones. After the death of her husband, Khal Drogo, Daenerys steps into his funeral pyre with her dragon eggs, embracing the flames as a symbolic act of rebirth. By morning, she emerges unharmed, with 3 baby dragons clinging to her. This scene marked a new beginning for Daenerys and established her as a force to be reckoned with. Her dragons became her greatest allies and symbols of her power, solidifying her role in the battle for the Iron Throne. From that moment on, fans knew that Daenerys was destined for greatness and that her journey was only just beginning. 7. Cersei Lannister's Walk of Shame.
Naked before the eyes of gods and men, to make her walk of atonement.
Cersei Lannister, one of the most complex and morally ambiguous characters in Game of Thrones, faced a moment of intense humiliation in Season 5. After confessing to some of her sins, Cersei was forced to walk naked through the streets of King's Landing in a walk of atonement. As she was paraded through the city, crowds jeered, hurled insults, and threw rotten food at her. It's a moment of vulnerability for a character who has always prided herself on her strength and control. Despite the public humiliation, Cersei endures it with a steely resolve, her face a mask of rage and determination. This experience changes her profoundly, fueling her desire for revenge and leading her down an even darker path. It's a testament to Lena Headey's performance and one of the most memorable scenes in the series. 6. The execution of Ned Stark.
Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
From the start, Ned Stark stood as a beacon of honor and integrity in a world filled with treachery and deceit. So, when he was accused of treason and sentenced to death by King Joffrey, fans held their breath, hoping for a last-minute reprieve. But in true Game of Thrones fashion, no one was safe. In a gut-wrenching twist, Joffrey orders Ned's beheading, despite Sansa's pleas and Cersei's attempts to sway him. This scene set the tone for the series, showing viewers that even the most beloved characters could fall victim to the brutal politics of Westeros. The image of Sansa's horror-stricken face as she watches her father's execution is burned into the memories of fans. Ned's death was a turning point not only for the Stark family but for the entire series, as it set the stage for the conflicts and power struggles that would follow. 5. Lady Olenna confesses to killing Joffrey.
Tell Cersei. I wanted to know it was me.
One of the most cunning and beloved characters in Game of Thrones, Lady Olenna Tyrell was a master of manipulation, known for her sharp wit and loyalty to her family. Her final scene in the series was a defining one, cementing her legacy in Westeros and in the hearts of fans. When the Tyrell stronghold of Highgarden falls to the Lannisters, Olenna faces her end with dignity. Jaime Lannister offers her a merciful death by poison, and she drinks it without hesitation. But before the poison takes effect, Olenna drops a bombshell that fans will never forget. She was the one who orchestrated Joffrey's assassination at his wedding. She delivers one last devastating line to Jaime, telling him, "Tell Cersei, I want her to know it was me." It's a moment that encapsulates Lady Olenna's strength, cunning, and resolve. Even in death, she has the last word. Her confession and final jab at the Lannisters became one of the most unforgettable scenes in the entire series. 4. Daenerys burns down King's Landing. Daenerys Targaryen's journey from exile to power was one of the most compelling arcs in Game of Thrones. Her desire to reclaim the Iron Throne and bring justice to Westeros made her a symbol of hope for many fans. However, her final descent into madness was one of the show's most controversial decisions. In the penultimate episode of the series, Daenerys, riding her dragon Drogon, destroys King's Landing, reducing it to rubble and ashes. This scene shocked viewers and left many conflicted about Daenerys' character. The visuals of Drogon's fire tearing through the city are both breathtaking and horrifying, capturing the raw power and destruction she unleashes. It's a moment that will be debated for years, as fans grapple with the tragic end of a character they once rooted for. 3. Joffrey Baratheon's death.
It's nothing.
He's choking!
Joffrey Baratheon was one of the most reviled characters in television history, so when his death came in Season 4, fans were both horrified and relieved. During his wedding feast, Joffrey is poisoned and suffers a slow, agonizing death in front of his family and the assembled guests. His death, Purple Wedding, was a moment of grim satisfaction for many fans who had waited to see the cruel young king get his comeuppance. Joffrey's death was as brutal as it was satisfying, with the poison causing his face to turn purple as he choked and gasped for air. It was a reminder of the show's willingness to kill off even its most central characters, especially those who inspired such intense hatred. 2. The Night King revives Viserion. One of the most visually stunning and haunting moments in Game of Thrones was when the Night King shot down Daenerys' dragon, Viserion, with an ice spear. The death of Viserion was shocking enough, but the true horror came when the Night King resurrected him as an undead dragon. Watching Viserion's blue eyes open under the Night King's control was a chilling sight and raised the stakes in the fight against the White Walkers. This moment signaled a shift in the balance of power, as the Night King now had a weapon that could break through the wall. Viserion's transformation into a white dragon marked a turning point in the battle for the living, and remains deliciously dreadful scenes. 1. The Battle of the Bastards. When it comes to epic battles, few episodes of television compare to the Battle of the Bastards. This episode, which features Jon Snow and his allies clashing with Ramsay Bolton's forces, is a masterclass in tension, choreography, and storytelling. Every moment of this sequence is intense, with Jon nearly crushed beneath the bodies of fallen soldiers and Ramsay's cruel tactics pushing Jon's forces to the brink of defeat. The brutal hand-to-hand combat and sheer chaos of the battlefield are captured with incredible realism, making this one of the most heart-pounding episodes in the series. But beyond the spectacle, it's a deeply satisfying moment of justice. When Sansa releases Ramsay's own starving hounds on him, his fate feels poetic, a fitting end for one of the show's most despicable characters. The battle marks a turning point for Jon and Sansa, giving them control of Winterfell and a victory for House Stark. These unforgettable moments have kept the story of Westeros alive, inspiring fans to revisit the series, relive the highs and lows, and remember the characters who fought, loved, and lost in the brutal world of Game of Thrones. As we look back on these epic scenes, one thing is clear: Game of Thrones will always hold a special place in the hearts of its fans.